There are some videos where you really don't want to mess up the recording because you've either had a really good idea and you just want to bring it into the world in a really good way. This is one of those videos because I don't want to mess it up. The amount Jesus Christ has changed my life for completely the better. Yeah, I don't want to mess it up. I want to give this to you. And I mean, there's no way I could do it justice because the amount he has is just the way I can't put it into a video. A few years ago, I was the biggest atheist. Literally, I mean, I have this memory of I would have been 11 years old or 10 years old. Both of my parents are atheists, maybe like slightly agnostic. And so as a kid, I really hadn't been kind of properly introduced to religion. We would have RE classes at school, religious education. And my teacher there, I could go on for hours just arguing. And I would die on a hill of just no. But the memory I have is she would sort of say to us that, oh no, like there is actual historical evidence for the Bible. This is like 10-year-old me, remember. There are like holes in the ground where the crucifixes were in outside of Bethlehem trees, wherever. I'm not very good with like history and stuff. And so like Jesus was crucified, they found nails in the dirt and stuff. And 10-year-old me was like, what? Okay, sure, but like that doesn't mean it was Jesus, and that doesn't mean that like Adam and Eve were in a garden and like it's just complete logic felt. And it was. These were bad arguments. And I hadn't been properly introduced to Christianity as a child. Then, I mean, I was like that for a few years. I'm a very bit of a science head. I love physics. It's really, really cool. And the same way, if you, I think, follow anything deeply enough, you kind of arrive at philosophy. So if you follow like maths and like deep, you kind of arrive at logic, and that leads to philosophy. If you follow art, you get to like philosophy. I think if you follow anything deeply enough, you find God and you find religion through that, because it really just is an amazing thing. He's everywhere. Bear with me and I'll keep going. So yeah, that continued on from maybe until I was 15. And at 15, I maybe just be describing puberty, because now I'm 17, nearly 18, and so maybe I've just matured instead of like God coming in and saving my life. But actually, that wouldn't be the case. I see so many people my age and older than me that don't have God, and I'm incredibly grateful. So at 15, I went to sort of like a youth club run by the nicest people ever. And these guys, like, they were Christians, and so there'd be like a 5-minute break in the middle of 3 hours of table tennis. I love table tennis too, where you talk about God. And I'd have friends that were sort of Catholic. I don't know if cultural Christian is where you kind of just get born into it and stuff, but like all of these guys, they kind of been baptized from birth. I've got a mate who's baptized, but he doesn't really believe. Like, it's just more of a tradition thing. Whereas I'm kind of like the complete opposite. I still haven't been baptized. I'm like a version to Christianity, but I found it through like another way, and the sort of my now belief system of it, I think, is so like secure, and I love it. It's the only way I could believe it. But yeah, so I would, I guess that was a way I got introduced to the Bible and stuff. And so I was surrounded by it. And politically, I would watch, there was a time I was like very into politics, not so much now, but I would always be like more like right wing leaning. So I would watch like Michael Knowles, Charlie Kirk, those sorts of people, very, very like polarizing people. And that isn't like reflected of, I'm much more peaceful now. But it's a good context for the story. So I did have like Christian influences. It wasn't that I was just completely out of the loop on it. And so maybe that kind of seeped in a little bit. And then it got to the point where I would have been 16. And I went through like a very big point of like humility. And if you're going to come to God, you have to humble yourself first. And that's very difficult. Because I can be an idiot sometimes. But yeah, so I humbled myself, I guess, gradually by kind of realizing and living through more life that I was not special, but there were greater people than me. And I think physics would be one of the ways I found this out. So like Isaac Newton was like, he did more theology than he did physics. And so many people, I think Einstein as well. And I was sort of like, okay, so maybe there's something to this. Instead of just writing off the whole of human history as, those are crazy people who didn't understand science and didn't have all of this, like, that we have now. And so they believed in fairies and stuff. The people who actually pioneered these revolutions in understanding, it affirmed their belief further. I think Heisenberg said that through physics, like, he found like a trace of God or something. Or something like that. And yeah, I completely agree. Like, what did I write down here? Yes. And then my interest in philosophy. So there was a point where I wanted to do philosophy and physics at university because I got really into philosophy, mainly just, I think, from a place of overthinking too much. And then I realized, okay, well, there's like something to thinking. You can think about tons of different things and like these big questions, and yeah, and went a bit philosophy mad for a bit. Read tons of just like Stoicism stuff, Nietzsche, Aristotle, Plato, Descartes, like just tons of random stuff, and had a really great time. I wrote a little bit as well, and I nearly went a little bit crazy because of it. And I really can't remember the exact transition as to how, but I think initially it began when I thought, okay, so if you take Christian philosophy as you just took it as a belief system, I've spoken with a friend about this recently, as in he sees it more as a very useful psychological structure. And he would, to give it like all the credit, I think he said it was also like the best one. And it makes sense. It's the most widespread religion. Again, you can compete on, for something to have lasted this long, it has to be iterable. It has to have some method of like surviving to it. And I think it says something about Christianity that it's just so enduring. Because I can create a belief system today. I can tell you, like, believing in a banana. But, like, if it has no substance to it, like, believe a banana is God, okay? If my banana deity, if that has no substance to it, you won't believe in it for long enough, and it will, like, fizzle out after most a few generations. But this is just pervaded, like, everywhere. Cultures, like, everything. And so taking it as a belief system, you can argue that it is the best belief system. I honestly believe that if you you sort of take the core philosophy, I can talk more about what that is, but I don't think in this video, and apply it to your life, you'll be happy. Okay, you'll be like, your life will improve if you decide that, okay, these are sins. So the 7 big sins. I'm not going to list them off. I think I could, though. You say, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, not going to do this. Your life improves, okay? And then there are things that are virtuous. Your life can improve that way. Okay, and then, so I kind of was like, okay, so I understand this. I started doing a little bit. I struggled with lust a lot at one point. I struggled with sloth at one point, greed, pride. And I went through and I kind of like axed it out of my life. And obviously it's difficult, but I got rid of it and my life improved. It's like, okay, so that makes sense. Like the magic book that tells you don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Basically obvious advice that's just easier said than done. But it doesn't just say that. It also says that there is a God, and there was Adam and Eve, and that there was a man who came to earth, that was God, that was killed, brought back to life. Like, what's that about? Because that's the Christianity that I was struggling to believe in and struggling to understand, and thought, like, that's nonsense. That's like a fairy tale. And this is where sort of like, and the best way to call it would be, this is where like the faith comes in. But I wouldn't say that, because there is no faith. Like, I know there is no belief or doubt that I know that like Jesus Christ was killed and then was risen from the dead. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. And the fact that I can sit here with this much conviction, knowing that me from 3 years ago would look at me and think, Jesus, man, I went downhill. It's crazy. There was no bigger atheist than me. I'm like a fairly smart kid. Like, I knew all the ins and outs of the science and this and this and this. I still know those now. And now I just see it in a different light. And I always tell my friends, because I used to be sort of like the head dude of like the atheist. Like, if someone was in an argument about religion, I'd love to wear it, because I like debating people. It's really fun. I'd like wage in, like, oh no, and so if I can change, like, please just use that as like motivation for the fact that like you can have this too, because I know exactly what it's like to be in this place of feeling like so self-righteous or like and like grappling with it. And I just have complete peace now. It's the most wonderful thing ever, and I hope you have it too. Yeah, Christianity, if it was just sort of a life guide of what is good and what is bad, would already be pretty good. It would be the best one. But it's not just that, because we have Jesus. I do not think, okay, to make the boundary and limit of my knowledge quite clear, I approached it very much from a sort of evidence-based thing. Because I wanted something to be like grounded in that. So I approached it from Jesus, because it's quite difficult to, go from Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, and these sort of things. Because just if there were evidence for it, and if you really look into stuff like geological reports, so like the ground and sediment layers for floods and Noah's Ark, you sort of see that something happened. But the problem is it's so far ago that it's like all very fuzzy. And then stuff like the earth was created in 7 days. The earth was created on the 2nd of 7 days, okay? If you look at when the earth was created in the universe's time span, okay, so we're going to have a huge divergence. General relativity says that time is relative. So 1 day, for me, might last a different amount, like, of time to yours, or it would pass at a faster rate, if that makes sense. So depending on how fast I'm going, think of Interstellar, where the dude goes off on a spaceship and comes back and everyone's really old. It's like that. So for him, that was maybe 1 year. For everyone else, that's like 100 years. Okay. So the Bible says that the earth was created on day 2 of 7. We're thinking, okay, there's no way the earth was created in a day. It was created like billions of years ago. But it was created on like 3 billion years ago, and the universe is 13 billion years old now, we think. Okay? Take everything with a grain of salt. This isn't the best argument for God, by the way. This is just a really interesting fact. That fraction, like if you split this into sevenths, it would mean that Earth was created on the 2nd of that day. So if one human day might be 24 hours, but a God day might be a certain amount of billions of years. Okay, so just be open-minded is a good thing. Like, you can, little fun fact for you. But yeah, you kind of, Jesus is kind of what gives it like a magic. I don't really know how to describe it. And because this central claim of Christianity that this person was God and he came back to life, the Shroud of Turin is actual evidence for that. There's too much evidence about the existence of Jesus for me to all caption here. So I'm just going to give you like little tidbits, and hopefully you can go away and like research if you're interested. But look at the Shroud of Turin. We cannot make that today. We don't have the resources and all stuff like that. Look at the historical evidence for Jesus. If you deny all that, you basically deny all of history, because he's such just an important figure and referenced by so many different people. What else did I quickly chuck down? Oh yeah, the Gnostic Gospels and stuff like that. So one of the things I'm struggling a little with faith right now is that I don't really know how much of the Bible I'm supposed to believe, because there's stuff about slavery in there. There's stuff about like all these different things. And so, but I know that Jesus is real, and that's where my belief is, because people can do awful things motivated by what they call religion. They can kill people and do all sorts of horrible things. But I know Jesus is real, and I follow his teachings. And then I'm sort of like still like just expanding out, because I want as much of it as possible to make my life better. But stuff that you may think are like really strict about religion, so stuff like no sex before marriage and things like that, that it's one of the nice things is if you don't just write it off as, oh, it's just some like jargon used to control people and they're told, just like a dogma they're told to spread, and just take the sex before marriage thing. Jesus himself like never said anything about that. And it's important to remember that the Bible and cultural traditions like that, because that the no sex before marriage thing was like a Judaism, like a Jewish thing, before that kind of just got carried on. But it's important to also remember that the Bible was written by people, and so there are going to be like slight mistakes and stuff. And if anything, that gives it more credit, because if it was like perfectly consistent, it would be a bit suspicious. But yeah, and there's going to be a certain thing of like cultural lenses, like they see it through that, and they don't quite understand what Jesus is saying. He speaks in parables a lot, but it's enough. Like it's a trace of God, and there are a few. All of the Bible things you've heard are there because like maybe that's the time they perfectly captured what Jesus was trying to say, and they captured like, the essence of something, and. Yeah, I think, let me consult the sheet. Yeah, that's literally all there is to it. If people want me to talk more about my faith or have any questions or doubts or a little like, yeah, but what about that? And just like throw a little argument at me, go for it. I'll be so happy to, because I just love talking about it. And I don't want to operate from a place of like just biased Christianity of like, oh, I'm right. I want to operate from a place of truth, and I've always wanted to do that. And as I've gotten older and maybe a little bit more like nuanced and mature, and just been exposed to new ideas, and it's always important to keep learning. That's what I've done, and I've ended up here finding that right now, and I think for the foreseeable future, that Jesus Christ is truth and love. So yeah, amen. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. In that video, and I realized that I would have messed it up, because it's all well and good saying that like Jesus is like the thing that gives it magic, and he completely is, but you need examples of that. So pray, because last week, I'll tell you a quick personal account. My girlfriend lives in Poland. I haven't seen her in ages. Last week, I prayed really, really hard. There's a certain like knack to praying that once you kind of have to like feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but I've had so many instances in the past, and you do get better at it the more you do, and you don't test God or do certain things, and that's advised in the Bible. You can find out like how to do it online. And I prayed a different sort of prayer every night. I pray for my myself, my girlfriend, my loved ones, and their health and all of those things. And then I also privately pray for just advice for myself and things that will help me become a better man and a better person. And then, but last week I prayed and it was a little bit different. It just felt different. It was a completely selfless thing of, I'm not testing you, God, but can you give me some way that I can show this woman love, or that she can feel the love that I have for her, because obviously we're in a long distance relationship. And I said, I know you can't teleport me to her, but if there's just some way. And there have been so many times in the past where you pray and things happen in a way you can't foresee. And it's what's wonderful, because you couldn't have brought it into the world yourself. And the next day, my girlfriend randomly had said that for the last 2 months, her and my friends had been planning to surprise me by her come to the UK. And yeah, and then that's why I hadn't put out a video for ages, because last week we spent together up in London. It was absolutely wonderful. And it's just stuff like that that you can attribute it to, it's coincidence. Or if you're always going to have faith, anything good that happens is going to seem like a miracle. But yeah, I've had multiple instances like this, and I do keep like a little mental note of them. And it really is wonderful. And again, even if you just want to write it off as, oh, it's just coincidence, does it not make your life better to believe that? But that's not the point of it, because you can believe whatever you want. But I know that I love Jesus Christ, and that Jesus loves me, and you too. Yeah. Thank you very much again.